All season long, defense has been winning games for Michigan. Today, though, the Wolverine defense faces its toughest test so far, an Iowa offense that boasts threats at quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. The Iowa offense and Michigan defense rate? Well, among the very best in the nation in several categories, including the essential one. Iowa, the third highest scoring team in the country, and Michigan, the toughest in the land to score against. So along with 106,000 plus welcome to Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor, Dave Barnett along with Bill Curry, so you can make a convincing case either way. Let's start with the Hawkeyes. They can win this game because...
They can win this game. There's an old adage, to a man who only has a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. Well, Iowa doesn't operate with hammers. Iowa operates with laser-type speed. Tim Dwight, Tavian Banks. Iowa also has the third-ranked defense in the Big Ten, and they played a team in Ohio State that runs faster than anybody that Michigan has seen.
Pretty convincing. The Wolverines, they can win because...
The Wolverines can win because they make a habit of beating ranked teams. They are the finest defense in the nation, and Michigan has a quarterback that's proven that he knows how to win in the big game. Brian Griese has come of age in his 5th year.
Both can win, both need to win. Iowa, so they can stay in the Rose Bowl race, in Michigan, so they can hang right where they are in the national race. Right now, let's send you to the studio. And quite simply, another perfect day in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Temperature in the 50s, should get no warmer than the low 60s. And not much breeze, going to stay sunny all afternoon. Couldn't ask for better football weather at Michigan Stadium. Let's send it down to the sidelines and welcome Dave Bryant.
Thanks, Dave. You know, this really is a measuring stick game for both teams. Iowa and Michigan have had very good seasons so far, but the question is, have they really proved themselves just yet? Iowa comes in ranked number 15 in the nation with a 4-1 record, but look at so far what their Division I opponents have done. Just a 5-18 mark between Iowa State, Tulsa, Illinois, and Ohio State. Now Hayden Fry's Hawkeyes have to face some good teams, starting with Michigan today. Wisconsin and Purdue are undefeated down the road for them in Big Ten play. We know the Wolverines are unbeaten, but look at their opponents' fortunes. That's very revealing. Colorado, Baylor, Notre Dame, Indiana, and Northwestern have won just a total of 8 games to this point. Well, it looked like a tough schedule for the Wolverines before the year started. Really hasn't worked out that way, and look what's ahead for them. Guys, Lloyd Carr tells us one thing quite simply. 5 of the 6 teams remaining on Wolverine's schedule this year can win the Big Ten. They're not looking by anyone. In 1997, they could all make the Rose Bowl.
Dave, Michigan wins the toss. They defer, and they will kick. Jay Feely is out, and there's Tim Dwight. Last year, number 2 in the nation in punt returns. This year, most teams have been avoiding him, and Jay Feely has another one of his deep, unreturnable kicks. So Iowa will take over at their 20. Matt Sherman, the number 10 rated passer in the country. Tavian Banks, number 1 among all running backs, could well go over 1,000 yards today, faster than anyone ever has, at least in terms of number of carries to get there. Michael Berger, his fullback. Chris Knipper, the tight end. Damon Gibson may get a lot of business today because you know the fine Michigan secondary is going to keep close tabs on Tim Dwight, and the blockers, Deal, Reichel, Rose, Goff, and McKinney. Goff, his coaches feel the best they've had up front so far. Up better than 300 pounds and quite a bit of speed for that size, around a 5'1" 40. First pitch of the day for Banks, who looks for room and finds about 9 around the left side of the 29-yard line. The Michigan defense, as we said, the toughest to score against in the country and number 2 overall in total yards allowed. Josh Williams last week against Northwestern had 2 of his 3 career sacks. By far the best he's played in his 2 years at Michigan. Hall, Copenhaver, Sword, and Jones, the linebackers. Jones, who has taken over for the injured Eric Mays, has led him the last 2 weeks in tackles. And the secondary may be the best in the country. Weathers, Ray, Hendricks, and Woodson. And Iowa, Bill, made no bones about it yesterday. They say they will go after Charles Woodson, which very few teams have done. Banks buried for a loss of 2. And the Hawkeyes will look at 3rd and 3.
It's well known that Tim Dwight does not lack for confidence, but what we didn't know is that he would come right out and say, I'm going to give Woodson a test. And that's going to be a really fascinating matchup. I can hardly wait to see them tangle.
Hayden Fry said he hoped that Michigan would put Woodson on Dwight all over the field, so at least they'd know where he is. It's not the case here, and it won't be the case all day long, but when they are head-to-head, it'll be worth watching. Sherman decides to keep on a roll, and he is a couple yards shy at the 28, where Josh Williams runs him down.
That's a situation where a quarterback early in a game has an opportunity to make a really foolish mistake. Had Sherman thrown into coverage and all his people were covered, that would have been a serious mistake. There's nothing wrong with a punt in a situation like this.
So on to punt is Jason Baker, a true freshman out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. Woodson is back at his 32. And a beauty by Baker. A bit of a breeze behind him. Woodson retreating inside his 15 to begin a fine return. Out across the 35. The punt goes 52 for Baker, and Woodson brings it back 17 yards. The Michigan offense with Brian Greasy, number 15 nationally and 5th in the Big Ten in passing. Howard and Ray Jackson, who starts for the injured Chris Floyd. Jackson, a true freshman. Floyd not expected to play at all today. Hurt an ankle against Northwestern. Tooman coming off 5 catches, 2 for touchdowns last week. Streets and Shaw, the wideouts. And the offensive line with Backus, Hutchinson, Adamy, Zeman returning after missing because of an elbow last week, and Jansen. And on first down, Greasy deep and overthrows Russell Shaw. The Iowa defense has not played this caliber of competition all year, but they are number 13 nationally. House, DeVries, Klein, LaFleur, and Kramer in their 5-2 look. DeVries, one of 12 Lombardi semifinalists in his junior year from Applington, Iowa. Linebackers, Matt Hughes from Hayden Fry's hometown, Eastland, Texas, and he's joined by Raj Clark, who has replaced the injured Vernon Rollins. He's out for the year with a knee. Gibson, Cooks, Thigpen, and Atkins, the secondary. Thigpen, a big surprise. They say no drop-off, having lost Damian Robinson to graduation. Chris Howard's first carry to the 43, and Jared DeVries there to wrap him up, and it'll be 3rd and 4. Howard, their leading rusher, 347 yards. Their second leading receiver, he and Clarence Williams, the number 1 and 2 tailbacks, have gotten an awful lot of attention from Brian Greasy in the Michigan passing game this year. And they go offset I. They have been superb in converting 3rd downs, 48% for the year. But markers are down as the ball is snapped.
Brian Greasy showing his experience early here. First thing he did is throw the ball deep to make it very clear
dead ball
that he's capable of that.
Prior to the snap, false start on the offense. 5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
Second thing he did was to draw Jared DeVries off sides, but in so doing also caused his own offensive lineman to move, and that's an area where the adrenaline takes over early. Poise is critical in those kinds of situations right from the very beginning.
So on 3rd and 9, they change it up and go shotgun with 3 wideouts. Williams in motion. Greasy all day, and it is brought in by Williams, but driven out at the 40, and he'll be short of the first down. Clarence Williams' 18th catch of the year. He is their leading receiver. And quite often this year lines up as he did here along the line as a wideout.
All the way across the field, you see Clarence Williams here, and this is a poor throw by our quarterback Brian Greasy, and it bounces off the hip pad and forces Williams to slow down.
Jason Vinson will send this one to Dwight, who was back as the single safety. Lets it hop, and it takes a Michigan hop back to the 11-yard line. Not returnable for Dwight. 43 yards with the bounce. Iowa back in a hole the second time they handle it on offense.
ESPN's presentation of college football is brought to you by Subway, the way a sandwich should be, and by Infinity. Own one and you'll understand.
The Law Quad here at the University of Michigan. Iowa at their 11. Teams have been kicking away from Tim Dwight, but he was back there by himself this time. Did the sun prevent a return?
Yes, it did, and Tim's been begging Hayden Fry to put him back there alone, and that's why he was there.
Sherman, as you will probably see happen pretty often today, with a change at the line to get back in the eye. He runs right into Berger, and a near disaster on the exchange, leading to a loss of one back to the 10. Rob Renas wrapping up Michael Berger, who ran right into Matt Sherman.
An early blunder by the quarterback, Matt Sherman, who comes out the wrong way, runs right into his fullback. And as you say, Dave, that could have been a terrible thing had the ball gone on the ground.
Bill, as many times as that's likely to happen today in the diverse Iowa offense, we'll see if the crowd may play a part in the difficulty of play changes at the line. Banks to the 15. Fabian Banks at 184 yards per game coming in. Sam Sword tracking him around end that time, better than 8 yards per carry, and 106,000 in any case are going to be tough to hear over, but you figure they know that they can have an effect on the audibilizing that Matt Sherman will attempt to do.
In an offense like Iowa's, they will have a major impact every time he begins to audible.
46%, almost as effective as Michigan on the third downs. And they run Banks, and he will be 1.5 yards shy this time as Dehaney Jones grabs him around the ankles. So 2 3-and-outs for the high-powered Hawkeye.
Banks has already established that he's going to run hard this week. You'll see the misdirection coming off the draw here. He's running much harder than he did against Ohio State. He's showing what he's made of.
Ohio State really the only team to corral him at all this year. Baker with another nice one. Woodson will set up the Michigan offense, though, near midfield. After a 40-yarder by Jason Baker. 9 on the return.
Michigan's doing an excellent job on the wide people, the gunners for Iowa. You see people running on their shoulders, and as they turn to make the tackle on Woodson, they are simply shielded off. That's a very difficult technique, but very important for punt returns in today's football.
And a familiar setting for Greasy to take over so often this year. The Michigan defense turning it over with great field position for the offense to enjoy. Howard through the middle of the Iowa 48. Let's go to the studio, get an update from Mike Tirico.
After the victory over #1 Florida, LSU on upset alert this week against Ole Miss. The alert has been noticed. John Avery, 15-yard touchdown. The Rebels score first and lead by 7 in Baton Rouge.
And just underway here in Ann Arbor. Second possession by the Michigan offense. Tight end Tubman in motion. And Howard Buried at the midfield strike this time by Aaron Klein, the nose guard, and Kerry Cooks from strong safety quickly up to help out. Iowa defense put up some good numbers, but as Dave Ryan recounted, the competition from here on out is going to get significantly tougher than those they have already defeated, the Northern Iowas and the Tulsas and Iowa States. There aren't any of them left on that Hawkeye schedule.
And as we said, this young offensive line can't play young anymore.
3rd and 9, Greasy well protected, but it's picked off by Cooks. Kerry Cooks is brought down at midfield by Chris Howard, returns 15 yards, his second interception of the season. And for Greasy, only the second he has thrown this season.
Greasy has taken care of the football all year. And in this case, Kerry Cooks, the fine, strong safety and the defensive captain for Iowa, actually read his eyes. He could actually see the eyes of the quarterback. Cooks is in coverage here. Wonderful job. He's with his man Shaw, turns back, reads the quarterback's eyes for the pick.
Hawkeyes at midfield after the first turnover. And they almost get it right back. Intended for Gibson. James Hall had this one right in his hand.
Two outstanding veteran quarterbacks showing the effects of a big game. Sherman's instructions are to believe what he sees. He just assumed that linebacker wouldn't drop. And when one assumes, one gets in serious trouble when you're throwing a football. James Hall baited him, made the drop, and then made the drop, unfortunately.
Snapped it, Derrick Rose. Sherman didn't get the exchange, and Michigan recovers.
We're seeing a case of the jitters from the most unlikely of sources. Both quarterbacks showing a case of nerves. Sherman's job is to sit in there. There's a drill that we call a silent drill so that this never happens. He was not expecting this football to be snapped. The center made an error, but the quarterback should have been able to hang on to the ball and at least get on the ground with the ball in his possession. Not surprising, but the source of the mistakes is surprising.
Sherman trying to explain it to Hayden Fry.
Yeah, that'll be a real interesting conversation.
It was recovered by Sword, and Michigan taking it back right about at the point where Greasy threw the interception. Here's 49 again, goes for Shaw, and a flag as this one sails over his head. Again, he had Cooks in coverage.
I like this call. I like this call. You put the youngster right back up on the horse. So fast. A long discussion.
And they call it a push-off on Shaw. See if we can pick it up.
Shaw's being called for the interference here. I don't like the call. I don't see it anywhere. Somebody invented one there. But I like the idea of coming right back out with your quarterback and putting it up on a lengthy throw.
Well, they're lucky they don't have the replay screens at Michigan Stadium.
Well, they're going to boo them anyhow.
They'll get about 10% of what they would have if the crowd could have seen that replay.
There would have been 101,000, the other 5,000 being the Iowa fans who are seated in some corner of this vast Coliseum.
So back it up to 1st and 25 for Michigan. Howard, and undercut for a loss of 1. Great recognition that time by Jeff Kramer, who lines up at the defensive end, but began his college career at Notre Dame as a middle linebacker and lettered for a couple of years for Lou Holtz, 94-95.
That was a variation of the earlier play in which Greasy threw the ball to Clarence Williams. Clarence Williams, a running back, was split out wide, came in motion, hopefully to deceive the Iowa defense for a little screen back where he had just departed. Didn't work.
That one lost one. Now they look at 2nd and 26. And Greasy forced to scramble, brought down by Aaron Klein, the nose guard.
Aaron Klein was allowed to make that play because of the coverage of the Iowa secondary. One of the primary receivers is the tight end for Michigan, Jeremy Tooman, who's having a tremendous day and finally gets drilled by his own man. That's not very funny to Jeremy. But the reason that he got in the path of Clarence Williams is because there were 2 defenders holding him up. They're not going to let Tooman carry the day from tight end in this game.
So on 3rd and 28, Greasy bumped by his own man, hangs this one up for Ty Streets and off his fingertips at the 25.
Ty Streets is a veteran receiver. He's a big leaguer. He has got to make this catch. That was a beautiful throw from Brian Greasy. Right over the left shoulder. The outside shoulder is the appropriate one. You reach up, you see that ball into your hands. I know it's a tough catch, but that's got to be made.
Vinson standing on his 15 in the exchange of turnovers. Iowa gets a block punt, and they'll take over at the 18-yard line. Joe Slattery coming in seemingly untouched. And Jason Vinson never saw him and never had a chance.
Here we are for the first severe test of the great Michigan defense on the block punt by Joe Slattery, whom you'll see come from the punter's right. Coming from the outside, he should not be able to get there. Jason Vinson simply took too much time. Number 38, the punter who's made so many outstanding plays for Michigan this year, this time took too long to get the ball kicked.
Iowa, 82% of the time they have it in the red zone, getting points this year, but Banks can't bring in the pitch. A marker is down. So we'll see how they sort this one out. Joaquin Fizel there to recover the fumbled pitch off the hands of Banks, but we heard whistles before the snap.
Prior to the snap, false start on the offense. 5-yard penalty, previous spot, remains first down.
Well, if you're ever happy to see that penalty, this would be that rare occasion for Iowa.
Serious case of nerves here by both teams. Dull, the tight end, number 82, moves early. He's a guy who hasn't played very much this year. Knipper has been injured. Jed Dull is in for him early. And in his mistake, he ends up saving another costly error. And Tavian Banks dropped ball. You'll notice he's not on the field now.
Sherman again with the change at the line. Just gets the snap in time. Banks, no gain. As the Iowa State defense did, Bill, the Michigan defense keeping very close tabs on Tavian.
The Michigan defense keeps very close tabs on everybody. And as we said, this is their first severe test of this game. But they take great pride in keeping people out of their end zone after turnovers when the ball is deep in their territory.
In the first quarter this year, Michigan's allowed 13 points and only 13 in the last 3 quarters combined. Iowa yet to be scored on in the first. Sherman off the fake to Banks, going for the end zone, and this one is picked off by Marcus Ray at the 1.
We hear so much about Charles Woodson, and deservedly so. The other secondary players for Michigan are also great players. Marcus Ray, in this case, made an outstanding move on the football. Joaquin Fizel, number 90, had pressure on the quarterback. He caused the poor throw.
Matt Sherman with his 4th interception of the year, the first by Marcus Ray. In not quite 10 minutes in this first quarter, we've seen 3 turnovers already. Marcus Ray stealing the most recent one at the 1-yard line on a pass intended for the Iowa tight end, Chris Knipper. Wolverine offense, though, taking over. with obviously job number one, just to gouge it out from right at the lip of their own goal. And Chris Howard is unstacked near the 5-yard line.
Fans have to wonder sometime how veterans can get in a big game and make so many mistakes. Just remember, it happens to everybody. I've played in a Super Bowl, Super Bowl V. It came to be known as the Blooper Bowl. The Dallas Cowboys, and we were the Baltimore Colts at that time, there were a total of 12 turnovers. We didn't plan to go in and do those things, and neither did these two teams.
That is the early tone of this game. And Howard this time spins for no gain right into the arms of Jared DeVries. What I wonder is, when that happens early, does that tend to continue through the rest of the game?
If you get rattled, and again, that can happen to any football team at any level. If you get rattled and begin to come apart at the seams, then it'll happen all day long, especially when you've got two great defenses on the field.
And you saw DeVries trying to shake something out of the right thigh. A little bit shaken up after that tackle. 3rd and 6. Michigan with Shaw right, Streets coming wide left. And they get Williams out in motion. But they go draw play. Howard, and Chris Howard weaves for a key Wolverine first down to the 14-yard line, where Kerry Cooks finally wraps him up. Nice call by the Michigan offense and Mike DeBoer, their coordinator.
On a draw play, it's critically important that the offensive linemen set up as if for pass protection. You want to bait those defensive linemen upfield, and failing that, get a stalemate. That happened all the way across the front with Michigan's, as we have said, maturing offensive line.
Two tight ends this time. Aaron Shane went in motion. And Howard out in the clear and chased by Thigpen. Finally catches him from behind at the 42. A 28-yarder for Howard.
This is the play that Ohio State used so successfully against Iowa. And it was only a matter of time until it came out of the bag for Michigan. A great block out here in the open field. It's not tough to block those guys when they're seated. And it's not easy to get out from under somebody when they pile on like that. Perfectly legal block there by Mr. Shaw.
Shaw and Shea, both with key clearing blocks for Howard. Clarence Williams on his first carry, and maybe one to the 43. ESPN continues its college football coverage tonight at 7 when Heisman hopeful Peyton Manning leads the number 9 ranked Vols into an SEC battle with the Crimson Tide of Alabama. All the action tonight on ESPN, your home for college football. Back on the 3rd Saturday of October for the Vols in Bama. 2nd and 9. And the freshman Anthony Thomas gets the call for the first time. He's got another Michigan first. So this drive that started on their own 1 now reaching the Iowa 47.
Jared DeVries, number 94, has been injured. He's out, and Michigan's gone right at his replacement, Corey Brown. They're going to seek to make a living over their right tackle, Big John Jansen. You'll see the double team right here. Chris Zeman and John Jansen getting excellent movement. Nice kick out by Steve Hutchinson. Fullback leading through, and that's how you make yards.
Thomas again, and unable to squeeze through this time. Aaron Klein wrapped him up. To the studio, Mike Tirico, an update.
Here's the update on Ohio State, Indiana, being seen over on the Deuce. And watch Matt Keller, number 23, the fullback, the big block to spring Michael Wiley, 18-yard touchdown. At the extra point, the Buckeyes lead by 7 at the Horseshoe. Back to Ann Arbor.
Big Ten with 3 unbeatens, including Michigan. 4 others with 1 loss, including Ohio State and Iowa. 6 of the top 25 in the ESPN coaches poll this week. Anthony Thomas to the 41. Matt Hughes, the weak side backer. On the stop. Down to the sidelines, Dave Ryan.
Well, Dave, they're looking at the left knee of Jared DeVries. He twisted it in that last goal line situation when Michigan was just starting that last series a few moments ago. He's walking down the sidelines and testing it. Doesn't look like he'll be able to come into the game right away.
Well, however long he's out, Bill, would you figure Michigan to continue to attack that vacancy?
Pound and pound and pound. On the last play, they showed an unbalanced formation that they haven't shown all year and went the other way.
Russell Shaw across in motion. And Greasy delivers to Jeremy Tillman for the first time today. And the tight end, who has really been their best deep threat all year, has the first down and a gain of 11 yards.
Jeremy Tillman is a big league tight end. You'll see him here coming across the field. They want a mismatch with this linebacker right here, Raj Clark. That's exactly what they get. He's literally uncovered when the ball is thrown. Clark and his running mate, Matt Hughes, have got to help control that tight end by at least bumping him off.
Arguably the best tight end in the Big Ten, maybe in the country. Howard trying to pick his way through the middle. And Cooks came up to plug the gap.
Cooks was indeed up at a 3-yard depth to make that play. And when the safeties are up that close to control the running game, you can expect something reasonably soon by way of a play-action pass to freeze the linebackers, cause the safeties to come up and take the run, and then go deep with a post pattern or some similar pattern.
With that, we'll end the first quarter in which nobody could score despite 3 turnovers, 2 by Iowa, 1 on a rare Brian Greasy interception. Nothing, but the second quarter will begin with Michigan driving on Hayden Fry's Hawkeyes here in Ann Arbor.